All right, welcome you guys to Coffee and Conversations. We are so excited about this episode, how to leverage your virtual event to really grow and increase your brand and presence. And we are so excited. We have one of our favorite people here at the table. His energy, I think, will be equally just as good as the coffee level, I think, to inspire us.
Perfect.
And Ashley, I know this is, a client, Dr. Ken Hartman from OCS that you've worked with before and our first real virtual event clients.
So yes, obviously Ken is one of our favorite people. We have worked together for a few years, and Katie had the honor of working with you this past year, but we actually had live streamed Ken's events for the past few years and became one of our favorite people. Ran 100 miles per hour, dreams huge. I mean, we can bring all creativity to the table. It is amazing.
Yeah.
And so I feel like in honor of that 100 miles per hour.
Exactly. Ben has created the perfect drink for you that kind of honors your 100 miles an hour personality.
All right, so I can go 200 miles an hour? Thank you.
I think that's 200 miles.
Exactly.
Yeah, right.
So we are so excited to have Ben here from PHL Coffee. So take a sip, tell us what you think.
Ooh, that's really mild. I like that. And I'm like your basic Dunkin' Donuts type coffee. And
We're not sponsored, by the way.
I know.
Say that.
I know. Your basic Joe. And this is really, really refreshing. Thank you.
So
I'm gonna get rid of this one.
Thanks, Ben.
Yeah.
You got
Whatever's
all
in
the
that
coffee,
cup.
Ken. You got all the coffee
I
today.
got all the coffee. I'm set now.
Ready to run. But yeah, we worked together, I guess it was 3 years ago when we live streamed, right? The first event.
Correct. We decided that what would it be like to be in a dinner that we normally had 500 people that would come to this dinner every year, and we decided, well, let's throw it out on Facebook and stream it live. And wow, that first year we had, I think, close to 14,000 people watching it live. So that was really my first sign that, well, this streaming media thing may really be something we need to look deeper into.
Yeah, my word.
I didn't anticipate COVID coming down the road, but which forced us to go, and scale up on steroids or coffee, if you will. What we were doing virtually. But yeah, that was a great experience back then.
Absolutely. And then last year, so you obviously made the transition to complete virtual in a crazy 90 days. We probably all lived with multiple cups of coffee on our desk during that season, which was amazing. But before we get into America Salutes, what we did with that, can you share what our Community Salutes is? I would love for our viewers to see.
So in a nutshell, again, everybody can read more about by going to ocsusa.org. But basically, in 2009, I was serving our local school board when I discovered, just outside Philadelphia, when I discovered that we were doing nothing for the kids that were graduating from our high school and who were enlisting directly in the military. Again, I'm an old soldier, but I was an officer. I went through RLTC and then served in the Army. These kids, the 1% of all high school graduates, these kids are going right from high school right into the military. And so I felt we needed to, and I was watching how their parents literally went underground because they were tired of defending their son or daughter's decision because they weren't, quote, going to college. At the time, I was president of a university, so it really troubled me when I saw that. So we had our first dinner in 2009 over in South Jersey. It was a wonderful event, a couple hundred people. Word got out about us, and the next thing you know, I got a call from a woman in Pittsburgh saying, hey, I heard what you did in South Jersey. Can you help us do that in Pittsburgh? And I said, well, we've got the name and we got the website. We'll just call you OCS of Pittsburgh. So in year 2, we had 2 locations, and then lots of news got out about OCS, and we grew from 2 to 10 to 20 to 30 to 40 to 50 locations around the country. And since 2009, we've honored tens of thousands of high school kids, hundreds of thousands of people attending these physical, on-site, whether they be in amusement parks or in theaters or our venues. But then last year, COVID hit. And so all of our ceremonies across the country, including mine, were going down. And that's when we had our first conversation. We said, you only get one shot at honoring these kids.
Right.
And last year, the class of 2020, right? So we need to do something. And that's when we had a conversation saying, let's figure out how to make this happen for all the kids, all 150,000 kids across the country.
Yeah, absolutely. And you did that transition so well.
Yes.
I mean, you were our first large scale,
Right.
fully virtual event to do in the midst of this COVID pandemic. We had done live streaming, we had done virtual, we done
Right.
smaller things, but to do the full virtual
Yeah.
COVID style
Yeah.
production. And I think we loved that because I think you can speak probably to the television style production that we got to do with you, which was cool.
Well, I mean, we were so grateful that you were open to that. We love, I think, writing this format for you, pulling in, all of these awesome ideas and connections that you have, and just to see the support from, national celebrities and hosts,
Yeah.
like just come out of nowhere that wanted to be a
Right.
part of this. But having you, I think, like have the vision and the perspective to be able to like create a place to fit it all,
Right.
and put that package together was incredible.
I saw Elton John on TV doing a virtual ceremony to healthcare workers, and I thought, oh, okay, we can do that, but I've got to have two important things. One, I've got to have professional experts who could produce it and have the talent and understanding how to make that happen. And the second thing is I need to have talent. I mean, and I didn't know celebrities, anybody like that, but I knew you guys. So we went with the production, and I figured, okay, let me go out and get talent. And what we found was that not only, as you know, did people jump on the opportunity to be involved with our mission and to support our cause, but we literally were turning people away. I think at one point in time, we had an hour run a show, and I think we had well over 100 people that wanted to be a part of this. And what that did in terms of our organization is it brought in people who never would have heard about us any other way. I mean, literally, to get someone like Terry Crews from NBC to co-host, or Robert Irvine, or and all of those people having massive social media that you guys know because you helped me out to reach that, and using them to reach out. I mean, it was truly a silver lining to what COVID has been a disaster, but we found a really great silver lining in all of this.
Well, and I think more than just a silver lining, I mean, what I think the reason we wanted to talk to you is because, you didn't just produce a virtual event, you literally leveraged potentially a catastrophic, situation to launch an entirely new level of visibility and awareness and fundraising for your organization that literally like catapulted it. So it's, I mean, and that is just phenomenal.
Oh, so many ways. Where do you want me to start?
I don't know, drink more coffee and let us know.
Yeah, well, I'll have a sip of that, but it's interesting because while we are we're a national organization with, in 23 states, we still have a lot of people that didn't know who we were because we didn't have the money to do the marketing and all that stuff. I mean, I'm literally managing hundreds of volunteers across the country. So what this allowed us to do is to not only tremendous exposure with very well-known personalities and in my case, military leaders. And, as you know, we got the Secretary of Defense on down. But it also, I went back to our corporate sponsors and the people that made this happen, and I explained to them what we were going to do conceptually, and they're like, okay, so you're going to get our CEO in front of a national audience? Okay, where do we sign up for that?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And so they were kind of going with us, saying, okay, I think I know what you're going to produce, Ken. Let's go with it. And in the end, they were ecstatic. I mean, they absolutely loved what we did, the exposure that they got, helping us with our mission to reach the 150,000 kids, the class of 2020 kids. And so they, without exception, they would say, all right, what do we do next year? What's next? How can we? And they're all coming back again for the second year. And in fact, giving us actually more dollars to do more this year.
Wow.
We love that.
Which is awesome.
Yeah.
Such a testimony to what you did
Yeah.
last year. You're also the best person to paint a picture. Katie and I loved being on calls with you. And like you said, conceptually, right? Remember Ken would get on the phone and be like, it is going to be this and we're going to have talent. All right, ladies, we need to find this talent.
Well,
all right, we need to.
It
was amazing.
I have to admit, I think I probably took you up my crazy tree a little high at times, but we
like the journey though.
It was great.
It's a new world, and again, this isn't going to stop. As you know, we're going off right now, and we're planning to do hybrid and virtual ceremonies this year because unfortunately, Conditions have not changed. And quite frankly, again, as I said, when you're on a physical location and you're in a venue like our event, we had 500 people, that's it. We had to shut it off. And so we would have the kid and their mom and their dad, or maybe the grandmother was there, and everybody else, sorry about that, you can't watch it until we streamed it, right?
Yeah.
This now opens it up to everybody. I mean, you can have unlimited, you can get cousins and brothers and sisters, and our sponsors can get people that the show, hey, take a look at, our CEO of ABC company that's gonna be on this show. So it really is a total community experience that we can do that we could never do in a venue. Again, is it the same as actually shaking hands? And I mean, hopefully someday we'll be back to some of that and we can do hybrid.
Yeah.
But right now and going forward, I think the model has really changed for a lot of organizations, nonprofit, for-profit.
Yeah.
It's definitely going to change things.
Absolutely.
Well, and I think, the storytelling piece of it, in the virtual event, like you've been able to capture these stories that, normally you have somebody stand up in front of a live audience and share their story, and maybe those 500 people hear it and get inspired by it. But now it's, like you're capturing it and you can share that with just an exponentially huge audience, which is
huge.
so powerful.
Well, you saw the numbers. I mean, when we started promoting this, our America Suits last year, we had, over 1 million touch points. Everybody was asking me to be on their social media, podcasts, television interviews, newspaper stories. Everybody was willing to talk about this event because everybody could participate in it.
Absolutely. That was really cool too, even the promo video. I remember when that went out, and it was maybe 1 or 2 days before the event, and it had like 500-600 shares within that first 24 hours. Remember?
Not boosted,
because
organic.
Not boosted, just strategic use. And so it's cool that you had those individuals who know how to weigh, they could get involved, celebrate, those who are enlisting, and now they've become a part of your advisory board?
That's right.
Or your
Yeah, so
ambassadors?
many of the
That's
people
cool.
that didn't even know about us before, but the first time they heard about us was when we reached out to them to have them be included in America Salutes. And they're like, wow, I've been in the service for 40 years. I never heard of you guys. Well, of course you did. We're small, right? But as soon as they heard about it and understood the mission, they're like, yeah, we want to be involved in it. So many of the quote talent that were in our show are now serving on our national advisory board. And so, 12 of them actually. And so now they are helping me to, we soon will be helping me to promote not only America Salutes 2021, which we're doing, but also all of these events that will be happening, the hybrid events and the live events that we'll be doing across the country in the spring.
It's just such a testament to like not just taking one situation but harnessing it and then applying that. I mean, it's just momentum after momentum. I'm dying to know if you are kind of looking at America Salutes, like what do you think was just sort of those instrumental pieces or elements that made this so successful, other than the fact that you are the best advocate for any brand we've ever met? Because I don't
the most passionate.
I don't know that
ever.
anyone would dare say no to you if you ask them for something, but it there has to be other ingredients. Like, what do you feel like made this so successful?
Well, I think it was the mission and the message, right? It's pretty simple. We just want to, kids are going off to college, they get all the recognition, they have all these different things. What about the kids who are putting their country before themselves? And especially these days with, unfortunately, the way we're divided in so many different ways. I mean, this is a simple message. Let's come together around these 150,000 kids and say thank you. Thank you for giving the rest of us the freedom to do what we want to do. So the message is pretty clear. And then when you look at the fact that you've got literally millions of Americans who have served before, many of them never got that respect. Many of them never had that, and they still remember the fact that no one thanked me when I was going in, and it was very confusing for me going out. So this gives them an opportunity to really give back as well. So the talent, so the mission was first, then the talent, of course, that was huge. People want to see their celebrities. And we were fortunate in that many celebrities last year and probably this year as well, they're not going anywhere. So to be able to go in the studio and to record a song for us or to give a shout out. You guys made it so easy for them to literally pick up their phone and give a 15-minute message. I mean, how do you resist that? So I think it's the mission, it's the talent, and it's the process. If they see it's an easy process for them to get involved, they will. If it's a cumbersome thing, then they won't. And you made it really, really easy for everybody to be involved in that process.
Wow, that's so awesome.
That's a really good point. Those filming guides and
Yeah.
talking points really go a long
Yes,
way.
how to upload to Google Drive.
Yes.
Remember all the papers to send out made it so easy for people.
Well, look, now we're doing. I mean, now in 2021, we're looking at upwards of 30 plus events, and we're saying that every one of them, look, we ever run a show that we'll use some of our national content with, but you have up to 4 local celebrities or people. You guys are coordinating all that. So that local volunteer in Long Island or wherever they happen to be, all they need to do is, we're talking now about the governor of Texas being involved with our 6 or so events. And one person gets that person to you, you guys make it all happen, and that volunteer can go on and do what's most important, which is telling people about this event and getting their local community to come out virtually to support the event, or if they're doing a hybrid, to come to the actual venue that day.
Yeah, and I just want to say, thank you for allowing us to serve as a part of your extended team. Last year, America Salutes was obviously so much fun to produce. I mean, incredible talent, incredible mission. You are allowing your team to dream and get creative and go. But I think it's been awesome too this year to see how you've utilized that content to continue to say thank you. And I personally remember, living right here in Northern Liberties, and in the middle, remember, of getting ready for America Salutes was when the National Guard had actually come into Philadelphia. And it was such a time of division. And, I know your mission is being the first to say thank you. And I personally remember being on the phone, talking to you one day, walking past the National Guard and looking, and it's these young kids, who, and now I feel old saying that, but I'm oh my goodness, they're I know, I feel we have to embrace it.
They are.
But they're 19, 20 years old, putting their lives on the line for our country, whether here or overseas or, whatever branch they may be in. And
absolutely.
I think it inspired me even, and I'm sure it inspired every person that watched America Salutes, and going forward to every National Guard person I saw saying, thank you for your service. Sometimes we take things for granted that we're able to live in the country we do. And so seeing you get creative with that, expand that with the content and even the parents' stories, hasn't that been
oh my gosh. I mean, I couldn't even get through a filming day. I was bawling, I think, all my mascara.
See, and all those stories that I've heard, over the last 13 years, all came out. And there isn't a day that goes by, especially as we get closer to this spring, and these kids are not being recognized by their school district for whatever reason. I get those phone calls. I literally got one, God's honest truth, yesterday. I'll have to share it with you, from a woman in Georgia. She was Googling around. Her son I guess it was her son, it may be her daughter, she didn't say, but it's enlisted in the Marine Corps. And she went out looking for help with preparing your son or daughter, and it came across America Salutes. Wow. Yeah, and so she emailed me our form on our website and said, can you please, are you going to have an event near us in Georgia? And I wrote back and I introduced her to and I said, by the way, how did you hear about us? And that's how I learned that she saw, and she wrote this wonderful message about, my son or daughter, I can't remember which right now, is very, very smart, had lots of options, but wants to serve his country, and that recognition is not happening. So I've been actually sharing that message as I was sitting over there with people that I got yesterday to let them know, see, this is who we're talking about. Now, I get those tearful calls every year from moms and dads in tears because their school district is not doing anything for them. But what the ceremonies, what the virtual ceremonies allow me to do is and by sharing the parents' messages, you hear that firsthand. I mean, who could forget Melissa Kane and her message about Jeremy and how powerful Jeremy was? And if you've missed that, again, go to our website and see it. I promise you, it will bring tears to your eyes. Because it's from her heart about Jeremy and his story and how important it is to recognize these kids. America Salutes brought that all out.
I'm dying to ask you, you had this incredible, virtual event launch. How do you feel like that has impacted, your ability even to increase like revenue and fundraising and, provide more support and more programs, through the next year?
Absolutely.
Do you feel like that's allowed you to grow?
It's I was watching a documentary with Garth Brooks, and he said life. He said everything is
His hands.
Yes, hands, right? A blessing and a
Can we
curse,
just do
right?
that?
A blessing and a curse. So the blessing is, I mean, lots of people. In fact, corporations who have veterans and they're are calling, wanting me to do presentations to them and how they can get involved. And the curse is trying to keep up with it. When you have so many volunteers and so many hours in a day, it's been overwhelming. And again, we have someone who's trying to follow up on all these opportunities, but it is a good problem to have. And again, I don't have to conceptually explain to them anymore what we're trying to do. I can say, go watch. And when they see it, they're like, wow,
I love that
okay.
sizzle reel.
Yeah, I can see it now. And so we're way ahead of the game in 2021. We still have to go out and get the folks to be a part of this. So that's, keep it refreshed and so forth. But, but it's an evergreen. Every year, you got 150,000 kids that are doing this, and they haven't seen the year before, and their moms and dads and their guardians have not seen it. So it's a great thing to be able to do every year.
Well, and I think what is exciting to look at this year in 2021 is kind of jumping off that platform probably of America's Salutes and getting ready to do the events coming up with the different communities, the OCS community ceremonies. So tell us about those. Like, what are you excited for about that?
So we call it our community salutes for a reason, right? It's their community. And every community, whether it's in Texas or Florida or South Jersey, is a little different, right? And so people do things differently around the country, but we have a common mission, a common theme, and a common operation that we run from. So the beauty of this is that we're now able to give them a blueprint of how they are going to do this. We'll be able to cross-purpose some of our content from last year and some of our content from this year from the national into the local. So it makes it real easy for them to move forward. We had our first monthly meeting yesterday with our communities to begin this process and tell them what we're going to do. And it went over really, really well. I think people are generally a little nervous about how am I going to do this? I'm not a young kid like down the street, but yet I have the passion of one. How do I possibly understand? I can barely open my email, let alone do this, right? And I think given our conversations and your help, and certainly the toolkit that we're providing them, it takes some of that out. My biggest fear is they're going to say, I don't want to do this shit. And I keep on saying to them, you only get one shot. The class of 21 only graduates one time. And if we miss those kids, we miss them forever. So let's not drop it. And when I've had some of them say, I can't do this, this whole virtual thing, come on, I can barely get into Zoom. And I explain to them that no, we've structured in such a way that really we're doing 90% of the work. They're like, oh, okay, all right. I don't want to disappoint the kids in my community. I know we've been doing it for years. I don't want a gap here. And so it's been very, very helpful knowing that we have everything, including the registration process. So, there's just I think that's a secret to getting people to understand that it's going to be more than just a crappy old Zoom get together. Everybody knows.
We don't do crappy old Zoom
No,
get-togethers.
People know sometimes how chunky that can be because people don't take themselves off mute or things. And so we're going to produce something that's so much better than that. And they'll be able to record it and share it going forward. So that's the difference between just saying, just go out and have everybody hang out in a Zoom meeting and we'll put a few people in there. That to me is, these kids deserve more than that.
Yeah. Oh, that's such a powerful statement. For anyone who might be watching that, is considering virtual or kind of wading into that, what advice would you give them as they sort of start to think about their own event or maybe going virtual?
Well, certainly give yourself more than 90 days like we did before that. Not Optim's house. This year we got
Not Optim's
much-
house.
We have a lot. And again,
It's amazing what we can accomplish in 3 months.
That is
Yeah.
crazy.
Look, we are a culture, and our basic DNA wants to shake hands and see people and do that stuff. And no matter what happens, that's never going to go away. But the reality is, the virus is going to be, whether it's this one or COVID-21, we're in a different world. So how you structure your organization so that you get the best of both worlds, knowing that the best world may not be available right now, hopefully next year, but we're in uncharted territory. So I would say start early and jump in the water. It is warm. I mean, it's got a little scary. I belong to a lot of professional associations, and many of them are doing virtual events right now, some better than others. But I think that if you schedule it and you go with someone like yourself that understands the best practices, some of our communities want to replicate, the 3-hour ceremony. You can't do that in an online environment, right? No one's going to be in a room for 3 hours. So they're going to need help in trying to, how do we get to the core of our mission, of our message in a shorter, more meaningful way. And I think that takes planning. So I think it's if you've got the right team and that you can do it, and it's probably a lot less than you think it's going to cost you. You got to keep your mission moving forward. And how do you do that in an environment like it is right now? You're going to have to adapt. The virus adapts, doesn't it? So we have to adapt.
Wow.
Yeah.
If that's not a model, we should follow.
Sure.
No, it is true. No, it's so true. And you are like literally the epitome of creating another lane utilizing virtual. Because you do have some communities that are still doing hybrid, meaning they're having some people in person in states that are allowing that and where restrictions are different. But the virtual is creating a whole nother lane. America Salutes created you a whole nother lane of national recognition and exposure, which is just so exciting. And we're so honored to be a part of your team, Ken. We can't say it enough. We've got our coffee. We're ready for this season.
Cheers.
Cheers.
So excited
Cheers.
for this.
Cheers.
It's gonna be so good. Ken, thank you for being here with us
Well, thank you
today.
for having me, and thanks for all your support.
Yeah, it's